Exclusive video shows a group of Baltimore teens running away after police say they stole a car in Anne Arundel County. We dive into the surge in juvenile auto thefts as neighbors call for something to be done.
I know what would have happened back when I was 13 years old.
A slew of unanswered questions 1 month since Baltimore's mass shooting. We press leaders for answers on the investigation and look into claims of mishandled evidence. Public records relating to state testing data redacted. Fox 45 News Project Baltimore investigates why this information is being kept hidden from you.
When government hides information, it makes it a lot harder for the voters to make intelligent decisions.
A young fan goes viral at Ravens training camp.
That was the happiest moment I ever saw.
He shares his special moment with quarterback Lamar Jackson and his love for football.
Plus, I'm timing out rain threats moving in tomorrow.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Growing calls for accountability tonight as a juvenile crime spree sweeps Anne Arundel County. 8
juveniles involved in a pair of car-related crimes, 2 of them facing no charges at all because of their age.
The lack of consequences have some people frustrated tonight.
No accountability, no responsibility, and so they think they can do whatever they want. I mean, what's a 13-year-old doing out at midnight jacking cars?
Tonight, Fox 45's Maxine Stryker examines a push for more juvenile accountability from Maryland's top prosecutors.
Fox 45's Vincent Hill leads off our team coverage, though, joining us live with surveillance footage from one of these incidents. Vincent?
Yeah, this band of thieves stretching from Baltimore City into Anne Arundel County, wreaking a lot of havoc and causing a lot of frustration. The start of a 12-hour teen crime spree in Anne Arundel County, captured on video surveillance. 3 female teens seen running away after trying to carjack an unsuspecting victim around noon on Tuesday. The victim, visibly shaken, walking to safety just behind the stolen Kia the teens came in. Police were able to catch them a few blocks away, 2 of them 14 years old and the other 15. All from Baltimore City. Then just before midnight, another call about a different stolen car.
Taken from the 1400 block of Bullshit Avenue around 21:45 hours. This for a 2013 Hyundai Sonata, red in color. Passenger side window will be busted out, and the keys are not permitted.
Police spotted that Hyundai stolen out of Baltimore City being ditched in Anne Arundel County, and a second group of teens stealing a Kia, leading police on a chase.
We were awoken by a big ruckus.
Michael Dunster feeling the effects of that chase firsthand.
There was a car being followed by the police, crashed into the fence. 5 juveniles in the car got out and scattered.
Police captured all 5. 2 13-year-olds and a 14-year-old from Baltimore City were arrested. The other juveniles, too young to face charges. Dunster, who's out of hundreds of dollars for his fence, calling out lawmakers for being soft on juvenile criminals.
I know what would have happened back when I was 13 years old. Where are the laws to protect the people?
And last week in Anne Arundel County, 3 other female teens were arrested trying to steal a Hyundai. For now, we're live in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Well, some police chiefs and law experts argue Maryland's juvenile crime laws are too lenient and giving young offenders a free ride in several cases. The Montgomery County Police Chief spoke with our Sinclair sister station in D.C. He says the law hinders public safety.
The juvenile reform laws that have been passed by the legislature has been damaging in so many ways. They have hampered us by not allowing us to actually interview juveniles to question them about the crimes that they've committed or the individuals that they've committed the crimes with. And this has hampered investigations along the way and has not kept this community safe as a result.
Several top prosecutors across Maryland are in agreement with that statement, saying their hands are tied when it comes to going after young offenders. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker shares their concerns and the changes they want to see.
Tuesday night, 8 juveniles from Baltimore City are accused of committing crime in Anne Arundel County. Police say 3 juvenile females were arrested for an attempted carjacking, assaulting the victim before stealing her keys. 3 juvenile males were also arrested for car theft. Police say 2 more suspects were involved, but not charged due to their age.
They know that, nothing's really going to happen to them if they keep their crime in a certain limit of types of crimes.
The Juvenile Justice Reform Act limits those under 13 to charges for crimes of violence and says a juvenile under 10 cannot be charged. The law also calls for 6 months probation for juveniles who commit adult misdemeanors and 1 year probation for juveniles who commit adult felonies.
I am concerned that in some instances the legislature got involved in redrafting fundamental principles of constitutional law.
Their limitations, 9 states attorneys across Maryland, including Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy, tell us are making their jobs harder when it comes to holding young people accountable. McCarthy would like to see a list of things changed, including the complete prohibition on charging those 13 and under, the prohibition on detaining a juvenile for technical probation violations, capping probation at 6 months, and a prohibition on detaining a juvenile for misdemeanors.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day. They get picked up for the second one, can't detain them. They're back in the community again the next day. They pick up a third, they're back in the community again the next day. That is frustrating to the community and frustrating to us because without the detention, we are, in many instances, we're really not getting the attention of the child.
As 2 Maryland legislative committees plan to look into accusations juvenile justice reform laws are contributing to the problem, we asked Mayor Brandon Scott if he thinks the laws need to change.
This system has to be built brand new because we know the old system, the adult system, doesn't work for young people, and we know what we have today doesn't work as well. We need to Maryland needs to lead in building a system that actually works and has that balance of accountability for one's actions and understanding how, especially before they get too far gone in the life, that we're actually able to correct young people's behavior and benefit them and their families.
Critics say action needs to be taken sooner rather than later, and talk must translate to results.
I think a lot of this hearing is designed to placate the public. It's going to give people the political security to say, look, I take this seriously. I want something done. But it's not going to create action as far as concrete legislative program because you still have to get some sort of program through the legislature, and then the governor has to sign off on it.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Should juveniles who commit serious crimes be treated as adults in the judicial system? So far, 96% of people who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote and join the conversation.
Fox 45 News is demanding answers from 3 city agencies now that 1 month has passed since the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, and there are lingering questions. There still have been no arrests in the shooting. A 17-year-old is facing riot and gun charges in connection with being there, but hasn't been charged with the shooting itself. Well, Fox 45 News and many others want to know exactly what went wrong leading up to the shooting. The police department has admitted it made mistakes. And we want to know how the massive party was able to happen without a permit and no one knew about it. We also are asking to know more about the mediations Safe Streets conducted before the shooting and why they left the party without telling police about it. And we're also asking what Safe Streets is making or doing to improve communication with other city agencies, what police are doing to find suspects, and why the Housing Authority was allowed to clean up before the evidence was fully processed. Fox 45's Jeff Abel is pressing leaders for answers. He joins us live. Jeff?
Well, it is still unclear tonight what impact these problems may have had on the progress of this case. But what is clear is that 30 days after 30 people were shot, there's still no arrest. 1 month after gunmen turned a Brooklyn block party into a mass shooting scene, killing 2 and injuring 28, you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone willing to talk about progress in the investigation. Not at public events.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
You don't want to answer? Nor at press events.
I'm a Baltimorean, and I'm not going to talk about how close we are and who we're coming after.
Police have made no arrest in connection with the multiple shootings, and they're defending their handling of the investigation. On the morning after the shootings, police admit they called workers with the Housing Authority to clean up the scene, even though all the crime scene evidence had yet to be processed.
This is the
the type of things they teach us not to do at the academy.
But in a statement released today, police defended their actions, writing, due to the large scale of the incident, including the number of victims and location, it was necessary to balance evidence collection and gathering with potential disruption to the civilian population. Our task on any scene is to process it utilizing all resources available. Once that initial scene canvas is done, we release the area back to the community to reestablish legitimacy and stability in the neighborhood.
It sounds a little lazy because of the size of the crime scene. They kind of seem to have said, well, it's too large, of an area. Well, that's the way it is. And so if you have to call out additional personnel, not a cleaning crew.
I have the utmost confidence in the detectives who are working this case. They and the folks at Homicide, those detectives, the actual professionals, determine what stuff should be moved and when it should be moved. So I have no concerns about that as well.
The police commissioner has indicated that mistakes were made.
If we made mistakes, we will fix them and move forward so it never happens again.
Today, 1 month after the city's largest mass shooting, there's no arrest and seemingly no rush.
When we make an arrest, it will be one that sticks, not one that just pleases you.
You may remember some 6 years ago, police kept a crime scene in Harlan Park open for 6 days while they searched for evidence in the death of Detective Sean Suter. This crime scene in Brooklyn was reopened the same day. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Well, this is what we do know about the mass shooting response. Fox 45 News reviewed police scanner audio that shows police knew about the massive gathering and potential threats about 2 hours before the shooting started. We also found video of past Brooklyn Day parties revealing it happens about the same time every year. The videos also show there was a history of attendees having guns and drugs at the party after dark. Well, despite that, neither police nor the Housing Authority say they knew about the party ahead of time. During a city council hearing last month, Councilwoman Felicia Porter said she found a flyer about the event on social media.
I just pulled up Brooklyn Day on my Instagram right now. We have an entire unit associated with this, and they didn't pick that up.
Well, we do know the Housing Authority did make some policy changes, including policies restricting time limits on parties and a requirement to get permission before using electricity at events. The police department has also made some changes, but will make more when its complete report on the shooting is finished. Monzi still hasn't answered any of our questions about Safe Streets' response. The City Council will hold another hearing on the shooting next month.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to appear in a Washington, D.C. courtroom tomorrow after his federal indictment last night. It's the third indictment against Trump. He faces 4 charges of attempting to interfere with the 2020 election. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman will take us through the details of the prosecution's case and how Trump's team could respond. Coming up in 20 minutes. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock. A new Project Baltimore investigation raises questions about information the State Department of Education could be keeping from the public. The red flags raised tonight. 5,500 cars stolen in Baltimore City and only 94 arrests. Fox 45 News presses police on solving the problem.
Comfortable temperatures statewide that you're going to wake up to tomorrow morning. Temperatures generally in the 60s and a couple of patchy clouds, but those clouds could give way to showers and thunderstorms by the afternoon. I'm tracking them on the Future Scan and my Weather Authority forecast.
This is my first time touching any football player's hand. I didn't know what to do.
And it's a moment one young Ravens fan will never forget. Fox 45 News talks with the boy in this viral video about a high five from his hero.
Public records in Maryland are supposed to be just that, records available to the tax-paying public. Federal and many state governments have drafted laws protecting your right to see those records.
But a Project Baltimore investigation is raising questions over information the Maryland State Department of Education is not allowing the public to see.
You looked at the documents, you saw the redactions. What are your thoughts?
Chris, this is shocking.
Scott Martyr is a Baltimore-based attorney who's very familiar with Maryland's public records law.
I don't think there should be redactions at all.
Back in 2017, on behalf of FOX45, Martyr sued Baltimore City Schools when the district refused to release documents related to grade-changing investigations. In 2019, a judge ruled in our favor, saying the school system willfully and knowingly violated the law. Now, Martyr says the State Department of Education appears to be doing the same thing.
The public should be able to see what is in these emails.
Yes.
Last week, Project Baltimore received the results of a public records request we filed in April. We asked for emails and text messages sent or received by Maryland State Superintendent Mohammed Chaudhry between January and March of 2023. That time period is important because that was when FOX45 exposed 23 schools in Baltimore City where 0 students who took the state test in 2022 scored proficient in math. When we began reporting on state test scores in late January, the state removed the scores from its website and later reposted them with heavy redactions, making less information available to the public about how public schools are performing. That is why we filed this public records request, to see what your government officials were saying to each other about redacting the test results.
From that request, we received about 500 pages of documents with very few redactions. But take a look at this email thread. This was sent on March 3rd with the subject line, Project Baltimore Request. This first email was sent by me at 1:32 in the afternoon to Superintendent Chaudhry and others at MSDE. In this email, we specifically ask about the 23 city schools that had 0 students proficient in math. 20 minutes after I sent that first email, Chaudhry sent it to some more of his co-workers. This is at 1:52. We can see everything. It's right here. But then 15 minutes later, at 2:07, Superintendent Chaudhry forwarded the email again, but this time, we can no longer see his email address. We also can't see who he sent the email to, and every word in the body of the email has been redacted. So the public cannot see what the superintendent said. We can't see who he sent it to. We also can't see from what email he sent it.
MSDE said the reason for its redactions were to protect executive privilege, the deliberative process, and to maintain the privacy of the state employee. But Martyr says, as far as he can tell, those exemptions do not apply here.
In the interest of transparency, they should give you more information about why they redacted those items. That may help you determine whether you think that they were right or not. But by restricting the amount of information you have, it doesn't paint a good picture for them.
And remember, emails were only part of our request. We also asked for text messages during that time frame. This is what we received, a log of 98 texts sent or received by Superintendent Chaudhry, with the phone numbers redacted. But this is not what we asked for. We did not request a call log. We asked for the actual text messages. But we don't have them, so you can't see them.
Under the state's public records law, is a text any different than an email?
No.
So we should get both?
You should get both, yes. Typically, the next step would be to send an email back to the agency and say, we think you're wrong for the following reasons.
So we did. On Tuesday, Project Baltimore replied to MSDE asking why we received the emails but not the text messages. We also asked for a more detailed explanation about why this email is redacted. If the state cannot point to a specific state law to justify these redactions, we ask that the email addresses and the body of the email be unredacted so the public can see what its government is doing. Project Baltimore will keep you updated on how the state responds.
It is always important that the public know what government is doing. When government hides information, then it makes it a lot harder for the voters to make intelligent decisions.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
I'll put my hand out, then I touch his hand. I never touch any football player's hand.
And he touched Lamar's. The video going viral on social media. A young Ravens fan getting a high five from Lamar Jackson and pretty much freaking out. He walks us through the moment he met one of his heroes.
Donald Trump's third criminal indictment will play out in this D.C. courtroom, but what challenges are already mounting for the prosecution and the defense? I'm Scott Thuman with a look.
And the next weather maker already tracking on the HD radar. Let's go ahead, take a look. There's some showers already loaded up from Indianapolis to Lexington, Kentucky, St. Louis. They're moving south and east, and we are going to get a piece of those, it looks like, tomorrow afternoon. Look at those rain chances beginning to come up. It looks like some humidity, too. I'm going to let you know we could have even better chances of rain. There's some storms in the mix, and one we could touch near 90 again. It's all in my Weather Authority forecast.
Former President Donald Trump is expected in court tomorrow after being indicted on federal charges of trying to interfere with the 2020 election.
So what are the legal challenges for his team and prosecutors? Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
Just a block from where angry Trump supporters forced their way into the U.S. Capitol on January 6, former President Trump will face a judge accused of inciting the mob and assertions he did so while aware he'd lost the election, but insisted otherwise. Intentional lies, they say, but prosecutors will have to prove that. Trump's allies, who could also face indictment, say Trump had the right to voice his feelings.
You don't get to violate people's First Amendment rights, Smith, no matter who the hell you are. And this isn't the first time you've acted like an unethical lawyer. It should be the last.
The circumstances and timing of the charges, though, they argue are more egregious.
When a sitting president has his Justice Department authorize the indictment of the man running against him, it better be a slam dunk case. This does not sound to me like it meets that standard.
But prosecutors allege the case is strong and the evidence overwhelming, that they can prove Trump took criminal steps to try and overturn his election loss.
The Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day.
And they'll seek a speedy trial. But Trump's attorneys saying they'll need adequate time to prepare. And even then, the trial could last up to a year. Dershowitz telling us Trump's first step should be to request the trial be moved out of Washington, D.C., where residents overwhelmingly voted against him, and move it to Virginia. Others say if Trump were convicted, a potential 50-plus year sentence seems highly unlikely.
Any judge who sentences him is going to say, no matter what your politics are, a former president of the United States has given a lot to this country, whether you like it or not. That would lower any sentence that he would receive.
Yet this just one of 3 indictments and a possible 4th on the way as Trump's trials and legal fees continue to pile up. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the latest indictment of former President Trump is politically motivated? So far, 89% of those who voted say yes. You can make your voice heard by going to foxbaltimore.com and scanning the QR code here on your screen.
And stay with Fox 45 News. We'll have complete coverage of Trump's appearance in court, both on air and online tomorrow afternoon.
Coming up at 10:30, a spike in Baltimore car thefts isn't slowing down. The new numbers from police and why law enforcement could be falling behind.
The U.S.'s credit rating has been downgraded. I'm Atrell Nashar with what this could mean for the economy and your bottom line.
We're following 3 big stories at 10:30. The reaction captivating the football world. Fox 45 News. Here's some young Ravens fan who went viral after getting a high five from Lamar Jackson.
Some new developments in the spying allegations against Harford County Executive Bob Casserly. Tonight, the County Council president responds.
And carjackings are on the rise in Baltimore, but barely see any arrests being made. Fox 45 News investigates why so many are going unsolved.
Auto theft used to be one of those crimes that if you got caught stealing a car, you went to prison. Now the criminals know that they're going to have to get arrested 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 100 times for auto theft before they will ever see the inside of a prison.
Well, more than 400 cars were stolen in Baltimore last week alone. And police are reporting more than 5,500 auto thefts just this year.
But with cars being stolen at this rate, some are questioning the strain it is putting on a Baltimore Police Department already stretched thin. Fox 45's Amy Simpson explains.
In Baltimore City, cars are being stolen at a staggering rate. Last week, BPD reports 424 auto thefts citywide. In the last month, nearly 1,500 auto thefts. And so far this year, more than 5,500 auto thefts in Baltimore City, a 201% increase from the same 7 months last year.
I mean, that's such an extraordinary number.
Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association tells Fox 45 News this elevated rate of car thefts is happening in big cities nationwide. But in Baltimore, she points to a department that needs more officers. And the officers that are on the job are likely being pulled to more pressing problems.
So their detectives in Baltimore are short-staffed. Now, you take your remaining detective cadre, what are your priorities? Homicide, violent crime, sexual assault, things like that. Again, where does auto theft fall? It's felony, but it's on the lower end of felonies.
BPD actually found itself the victim of a car theft last Tuesday night, an unmarked Kia Optima, taken by a thief a few blocks from police headquarters.
We've had a departmental car that's been stolen with police equipment in it.
But with more than 5,500 cars stolen this year to date, Baltimore police report just 94 arrests for auto theft. And this law enforcement expert questions how investigators are supposed to keep up with the pace.
So let's say you have an auto theft detective who has 150 open cases. How many of those cases is that investigator going to be able to solve? Those investigators who have this huge caseload and are only able to close a small number of cases, it's incredibly frustrating to them.
And until more cases are investigated, see the inside of a courtroom and face penalties. Smith says cars will continue to go missing.
I really don't see this trend slowing down at all. We are going to have to go back to a system where we punish criminals.
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
While car thefts are increasing, homicides and non-fatal shootings are both on the decline this year in Baltimore. The city has seen 53 fewer murders than this time last year and 31 fewer fatal shootings. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron say they're working hard to get guns off the streets.
Gun prosecution really is the centerpiece of our violent crime strategy.
We're making sure that if we have now realized that you're one of these violent trigger pullers in the city, we're focused on you together as a team.
Bates and Barron are also targeting repeat violent offenders through an Al Capone-style prosecution strategy. Community leader P.M. Smith says their previous experience is in the courtroom.
They both worked in Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, and both have done defense work. So they know the criminal mentality, they know the criminal mind, and they know the criminal element. I would just give the ball to them with every, as I snap it, and let them do the running. They know what they're doing a great job, and they're both men that must be taken seriously.
Well, Barron says the crime strategy also includes more focus on following the money with those who commit violent crimes. Many of the incidents, he says, include those involving illegal drugs, which are driven, he says, by money.
Adnan Syed's attorneys are asking the state Supreme Court to overturn the decision to reinstate his murder conviction and keep him out of prison. The conviction was overturned last December, but then reinstated after an appeal from the family of Heyman Lee, who says Lee's brother wasn't given proper notice to testify in the case in person. Syed has been free since the state vacated his conviction in September. Syed's defense argues the issue is a moot point because prosecutors had already dismissed the case.
Former College Park Mayor Patrick Woyan was sentenced to 150 years in prison after facing 80 child pornography charges. He pled guilty in court and will only serve 30 years as part of a suspended sentence. He was arrested in February. Prince George's County Police say he was uploading child porn online as early as January. Woyan resigned from his post prior to the arrest.
An update now to the accusations that Harford County Executive Bob Casserly spied on Councilman Aaron Penman and other government officials and citizens. The council president saying the Office of the Maryland Special Prosecutor will handle the investigation moving forward. Council President Patrick Vincetti made the announcement in a statement today saying the special prosecutor will receive his full support and cooperation. The statement goes on to say the county council's communications with constituents and on legislative matters should remain confidential. He says he's actively reviewing the need for county council and other local agencies to have separate computer and phone plans. And it comes after Casserly admitted yesterday he did monitor communications between Penman, the Harford County Sheriff, and several others. He says monitoring communications is allowed and it was all done legally because the county's phone usage policy states all computer systems and files can be monitored at any time. Penman pushing back on that claim.
I do not work for the county executive. I work for the constituents of District B. It's a separate branch of government. I am not an employee of the county. Therefore, he is not privy to my emails and correspondence on cell phones.
Casserly initially denied Penman's allegations of illegal wiretapping entirely, calling them malicious and slanderous. Fox 45 News will continue to follow this developing story. We'll keep you updated both on air and online. You can find all of our past reporting on the back and forth on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Towson University welcomes its 15th president, Dr. Mark Ginsburg. He comes to Towson after serving as the provost and executive vice president of George Mason University in Northern Virginia. Ginsburg lived in Maryland for more than 40 years and says he's drawn to Towson because of the energy and vibrancy surrounding the campus.
Well, the U.S. credit rating has dropped from AAA to AA. National correspondent Autra El-Nashar explains what that means for American consumers.
A blow to the credibility of U.S. debt from one of the top 3 rating agencies occurring for the first time since 2011 and for only the second time in history. Fitch Ratings says their downgrade is based on expected fiscal deterioration over the next 3 years, a growing government debt burden, and the erosion of governance compared to other top-rated countries. The firm reportedly cited January 6th as an example during a meeting with Biden administration officials.
We're very safe. Still an extremely safe asset, but not quite as good as AAA.
At best.
Mark Goldwine, Senior Vice President and Senior Policy Director for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, notes the U.S. still holds the world's reserve currency and remains the safest place to park large sums of money.
My hope is that this does not have an effect on everyday people. The risk is if there are further downgrades,
which would come with even higher interest rates, slower economic growth, and an overall weaker economy. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen calling the downgrade arbitrary and based on outdated data. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre blames, quote, extremism by Republican officials, like seeking to extend deficit-busting tax giveaways for the wealthy and corporations. The Republican Party blaming President Biden and Democrats, who say they, quote, took the country to the brink of default amid an increasingly unsteady economic path.
I'm worried this is actually going to create more divisiveness, which is actually going to feed right into the very thing that the downgrade warned about.
That plus the rising cost of Medicare and Social Security, rising deficits in which interest payments are on track to outpace defense spending, and the frequent threat of debt ceiling crises and government shutdowns. Speaking of, Congress is staring down the barrel of another shutdown if they don't pass a budget or stopgap bill by September 30th. Tensions between the parties are only getting worse with the news of this downgrade, an investigation into Hunter Biden, and a third indictment of former President Trump. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrel Nashar.
Taking a look now at the Fox box. Top left some tense moments at the U.S. Capitol this afternoon. All 3 Senate office buildings were locked down after a report of a possible active shooter. Capitol Police say they responded within seconds but did not find any threats. Officials say it might have been a bogus call.
The top right, illegal crossings along the U.S. southern border jumped more than 30% last month. Officials say crossings are still below what they were before the Biden administration's new enforcement plan